So I thought I'd talk today a little about my philosophy when it comes to collecting vinyl records, with an emphasis on my philosophy. So I'm a big believer in just buying what you like, collecting what you like, and not letting anybody else kind of judge, what you're going to own or what you're going to put to your collection. But thought I'd talk a little bit about here's how I approach things. Um, Generally, and what you'd see from a lot of the shorts that I make is that my favorite genres to collect in vinyl record form is heavy metal records, punk records, and I really love 90s hip hop records as well. And, I have your run of the mill, these are the things you just have to have if you're going to start a collection, your Michael Jackson thrillers, Fleetwood Mac rumors, your Beatles records. Generally speaking, if you're interested in collecting records, then you're going to get some of those just kind of greatest hits. And to me, one tenet of my philosophy is that I think you should buy as close to the original pressing as possible. And what I mean by that is, I think you're going to get the best bang for your buck buying pre-owned records and you're buying new records. Like there's no point in spending $35 on the Michael Jackson Thriller that's at Target or Walmart when you can go to your record shop and find it for 10 or 15 bucks. And you're going to get the one of the millions that were pressed back in 1982 or back in the 80s when it came out. And the odds are it's going to be a very good or very good plus, and it's going to sound great. And again, your money's just going to go further buying pre-owned records. I almost exclusively buy used records because most of the stuff I'm interested in is older things. And one of my favorite bands is Bad Religion, and I only have one Bad Religion album right now because I'm really only able to find one out in the wild that was an original pressing or pressing from when it came out. Like, I have no interest in buying a Bad Religion record, like No Control. I have no interest in buying that or Suffer that was pressed, 2 years ago, or that's just being reissued over and over again. My philosophy is I try to be very intentional and I try to go quality over quantity to buy. Hey, I want Suffer the year it came out, whether that was 88, 89. That's the copy I want. And if I'm going to spend $100 on it, I'm probably going to spend $100 on it because that's the one that I really want. Case in point, I was going through my collection, and what kind of spurred the idea for this video is that I just recently bought Velvet Underground's Loaded. And I've been looking for this for forever. And ideally, I'd have a 1970 copy. Couldn't find it, and my local record store had this. This is a 80s German pressing, which I thought was kind of interesting. If you're going to have Velvet Underground records, to me, it's going to be the most interesting and the coolest to own it, when it wasn't probably pressed in the last 5 years. Regardless if they say they're using the master tapes or anything like that, there's something around the history of having a lot of these older records that I think is valuable, or that's interesting to me to have in my collection. And so I was at Barnes & Noble yesterday, and I was looking through the 4K Blu-rays to see if there's anything interesting I wanted to get. I generally wouldn't buy a record from Barnes & Noble just because, again, my general philosophy is buying used over anything else unless it's a new release. And I saw this in the section V, it just caught my eye. And because I just bought this a week or two ago, I thought, well, how much is this Loaded at Barnes & Noble that, is just probably, a random reissue? $30 is how much it was if you wanted Velvet Underground's Loaded. I paid $45 for this copy. This is this 80s German pressing. Sounds beautiful. It's kind of interesting because, it's got all, it's in stereo. It's obviously a German pressing. You have something to print. Maybe the right thing is to say this is an EU pressing versus a German pressing. But there's just something interesting to owning this copy versus owning a copy that you buy anywhere else. And to have that interesting factor, it had only cost me $15 more. And again, maybe you're price sensitive and maybe you say, well, $15 could be another record or half another record. And that's a good point. But again, this is just kind of my philosophy. I try to go as original as possible or as an interesting of a pressing as possible. And I just recently did a short on Iron Maiden's Live After Death, right? And again, when I buy these records, I try to keep the receipts or keep, the place I go to, they'll put price tags on it, on the sleeves, or they'll write the price tags. And they say it's a very good minus. This plays perfectly fine for a listening copy. It might like skip on one or two songs. It's not that big of a deal to me. So they call it a very good minus. I paid $12 for this like 2 years ago. And if I'm looking, and this is like a 1985 pressing, so this is the pressing when it came out. When I look on Amazon right now, you could buy this on Amazon, brand spanking new, for $42. And this is, to me, case in point to where be intentional. If you want an Iron Maiden record, odds are you're going to go to your local record shop, go for like 2 months. Somebody's going to sell their metal collection. You're going to find a bunch of 80s metal. Maiden will be in there. Like I just saw, I think Somewhere in Time was like 35, $36 at my local record store, which I hesitated on getting. I passed it up because I bought the Velvet Underground record. But again, if you try to go buy Somewhere in Time, a recent copy, it's probably going to be about the same price. But you're going to get the original that came out in 86, 88. You're going to get that pressing. It's going to sound better because it's likely to come from the original masters, and who knows, reissues is kind of, your mileage may vary there. But to me, to pay $42 for this or $12, buy used, clean it a little bit, and then like you're in business. Another thing I would say is, like, I was going through my collection and I bought this probably a year or two ago. It's the original release of Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style. And I kind of hesitated a little bit. I had to make sure there's not mold going on, because if you can see the edge here, I mean, it's pretty soft. And so that's due to probably some water damage. On the inside, it didn't look too sketchy. But this is a 93 copy. And to me, again, my tenet is one of the three things I like 90s hip hop on vinyl. I like punk, I like metal. I see a 90s hip hop classic and I really can't pass it up. I bought this just knowing there was a 90s copy, 93 copy. Probably cost $60 or $70, which again, that's steep. But again, if you're going to buy that Live After Death $42 record, you got to pick and choose how you want to spend and what you want to put your money into. But if I look right now you can get the 30th anniversary of this record you can get it on a double LP, which this record doesn't need to be a double LP, for like $46. Or you can get just the regular 30th anniversary reissue for $32. And I'm sure it sounds fine. But again, to me, there's something about owning the 93 pressing of Doggy Style. And what I would later find, as I looked this up after I purchased it, was that this is one of the few copies that has like a track that got recalled literally in 93 on the next reissues, right? So you can find something really interesting if you just kind of open your eyes and think about, the things that you want to buy and invest in. Not invest, but just add to your collection. But a good example of something that I have no problem buying new, because this album came out, I think, during COVID. It was 2020 or 2021. It's what I think is probably one of the best albums of the decade. Olivia Rodrigo's Sour. This is like the Target exclusive, whatever it is. Listen, I am a huge fan of this record. I think it's one of the best. Again, it was one of the best records of the decade. This is an example of, like, I kind of don't care which copy I own, because what just came out 5 years. If I'm going to go get the Target one, I'll go get the Target one. Kind of the same for, like, I'm really into Turnstile. I'll buy the Turnstile Glow On. What's their latest one called? Like Never Enough, or is that just the title track? I can't remember. I'll buy those completely new all day long. But if I'm going to look for Nonstop Feeling now, maybe then I want to get closer to the original copy of that record versus buying something new that was printed a few years ago. So That's a little bit of my philosophy. I kind of wanted to opine on it and just put a video around is, if you look at my collection, I probably only have 100 to 120 records and versus having 500 or 1,000. And that's really by design. What I intend to do, I really want quality over quantity on the things I really love. I really want to be sure I'm trying to find the most original copy as possible because to me as a collector, that's what makes me happy and what I find interesting. And so again, wanted to kind of put this video out on some of the core tenets that I think about when I'm buying records. Would be very interested in hearing how you go about collecting and what you think about adding to your collection. Leave a comment below if you like the video, hit a like, and follow me for more if you continue to like vinyl record reviews and shorts and cool things about music. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it.